bamboo full suspension high pivot enduro weapon. Have a lot of spare bamboo.
Yeah, it feels so nimble. Feels like a proper job. I'm not the only one going to be testing it.
Feels like a nice size as well.
Oh my god, I love this bike.
It grips
So well.
Let me tell you a story. Oh my God.
Right, introduce yourself to the pinned viewers
I'm Jay.
and tell us about your Earthbound bike.
This is a, strangely enough, bamboo full suspension high pivot enduro weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's built at home. I built bamboo bikes for a few years, road bikes first, and I was always really taken by just the vibration dampening of them. It's like a bit of a jump to scale something up to this. It's always something that's been on my mind. Just jumped in and just got building, and this came out the other end. It took about 2 or 3 months from start to finish.
Yeah.
I was fully expecting it, well, fully prepared for it to maybe be a lemon. Took it out for a test ride, immediately loved it, and I don't think I'll ride another bike that's come out of someone else's factory again.
And tell us about, first of all, what ideas did you get for the geometry?
The geometry is just really similar to what I was riding before, but with a few tweaks. The last bike I had, I felt the bottom bracket was a little bit too high. So I lowered that just a little bit. It's 3, 4, 5 bottom bracket. I purposefully made it a mullet. And that was a bit of a risk. I wasn't sure if I'd like it or not. I'm really sold on mullet. I kept the back end a little bit shorter than I'd usually like, knowing that it would extend. It's a 435 back end, but it's sag, 25% sag. It's 446.
Right.
So I think that gives the bike a nice balance. The reach on it is 495.
Yeah.
So it's quite lengthy, which again, with using bamboo as tubing, you've got that natural flex. So that was a bit of a risk I took, but for me the stiffness is it's more than I'd want. I actually wouldn't want this bike any stiffer. You find you get really nice front wheel grip from that sort of little bit of torsional flex that it gives.
How is the bamboo bonded to the carbon?
So that's it's just mitered. You imagine like a hole saw. If you run like a hole saw through a tube, you get that mitered shape.
Yeah.
It's literally, you just miter it, usually by eye, until you get a really nice perfect fit, sand it out, and then you just tack it together with epoxy, give it a fillet so it's a nice smooth joint, and then it's hand laid carbon on top.
Right.
So you have to cut a big like scheduled layup of lots of carbon pieces, remember the order that they go in, mix epoxy resin, wet it all up. It's like paper mache. It's just it's horrendous. It's like Blue Peter. Get them all on, and then you wrap it all in a compression tape. 6 hours later that cures. You take the compression tape off and it's just a horrendous mess, and then you have to spend hours and hours sanding it to get this finish.
So I'm guessing you had to make your own jig to start with then?
Yeah, so this the jig is basic, but it more than performed and did its job. It's just like 80-20 extrusion that you can pick up anywhere. It's basically a big rectangle that goes around the frame, and the tricky bit is all the fixtures. Normally you'd have to spend quite a lot for custom fixtures, but use 3D printing, learnt some CAD, some 3D printing, and they've worked flawlessly. And just all the data for those was basically just taking numbers out of CAD, designing the fixtures, and then plotting like how far you'd need to move that fixture up like a piece of extrusion for all the linkage points. That was the trickiest bit, but it was sort of only tricky in my mind. Like once I actually started doing it, I was really surprised at how well that worked. Like everything's true, everything's in line. You've got no weirdness with the linkage.
And you've also, I noticed you've gone with internal routing, which for a homemade bike is
I have just
really
on the
good.
dropper. Yeah, I mean you can't go to like old school, you know, cable coming up here. I'm not going to do that. And that was actually an absolute nightmare. I should have put a little guide in here to take the bend through, and I didn't. So to get that done the first time, I knew it'd be a pain. So I had my eyeball basically on the top of this tube here with a head torch, poking the cable through, and I kept poking it through, and I kept, because you've got that muscle memory, you're going like this, and I'd see it pop through, and it's like whack-a-mole, and you just like miss it. You miss it. It took about half hour, but once I got it through, that cable stays there now forever.
What other difficulties did you encounter doing this?
I think because I'd already got like a lot of experience building like generic normal bamboo frames, like I built quite a lot of road bikes, I had all that dialed. The main difficulty was, I guess, learning like machining. Like I brought a tiny little hobbyist CNC machine just to do all these linkage plates, and it was tricky to learn, but it was mostly like psychological. It was like, can I do this? And just having the confidence to give it a go. But you see things like this, like the chain guide here, like that's just milled from a piece of carbon with a little tacky 3D print, you know. But yeah, making these plates, and I got some things machined elsewhere, like this, the main pivot, I had to draw up and get that done elsewhere, and just these little things here. This I can't take credit for because that's from a Stanton. Yeah. That's the bike I had originally.
Is that the 29 link?
Yeah, that's the 29 link. So I was stuck with that. Like my first, I ran into it thinking like I'll build something like an orange, simple single pivot. I'd actually designed something, and before I started making it, I was just like, because I'd done one, I was like, why don't I get that link and see what I can do with it? Yeah. And I got it out, modelled that in CAD, and I had the basic sort of layout in my head. Yeah, and in the software, it's called linkage, like the industry standard for plotting it out. I just sort of plotted it out roughly in linkage, and it just all came together. Just don't quite know how, it's just the stars all aligned, and it's all, I knew I wanted a high pivot, so it's hard to get. It was tricky. I didn't think it would work having a high pivot with this linkage, because obviously the higher you put this pivot, the higher this needs to go. So therefore the higher this needs to go. But I'm a pretty reachy guy.
And it's still quite low standover.
It's lower than I thought it was going to end up. It works for me, but you know, I'm 6'1" or 6'2" or something.
So let's just go over the numbers quickly. 490 reach.
495 reach.
495.
I think.
Okay.
It's got a 120 head tube. The angles 64.5, 77.
Yeah.
The bottom bracket is 34545.
And what about when you're choosing your bamboo? Because obviously you're quite limited. Well, not limited. You're restricted to where each one of these growth rings is. How do you get around that? Do you have to buy a lot more than you need?
I have a lot of spare bamboo. Yeah. Yeah. So
is it cheap?
It's really cheap actually. What's expensive is postage. So I got this from a guy from a warehouse in Valencia. Yeah. And he's like really helpful, knew what I was doing, liked the idea, and basically like picked me some choice cuts. But obviously it hasn't come out, it hasn't been extruded, it hasn't been like formed in a factory, it's been grown. So you've got to work
around that.
Yeah. So you've got to be smart picking your tubes, and that comes from experience.
And finally, tell us about how you did the sort of etching. You got the beetle on the top.
Yeah, I love the beetle. So he's done in a flip paint. So it's not, we're not in the sun right now, but when you are in the sun, he flips from like copper to gold to green. He's awesome. I can't take credit for him. He's off Google Images. Yeah. So if the designer's watching this, don't sue me. But he's just like laser cutter. So the CNC machine I bought from AliExpress got like a little laser cutter with it too. You just drag the design onto some tape, and it just cuts out whatever shape you want. Stick it on and spray paint. It's as easy as that. That goes for the little Earthbound logo here as well, and a little head badge. So I for the next bike, I'll look at getting some proper decals made up, I think.
Yeah. Right, well, we've done enough talking about it. Let's get out and ride it.
I hope you enjoy riding it. Can't wait.
First ride, just jumped on it. How does it feel straight away? I always like the feel just going up a hill or on a flat or trail riding of a long bike, because they're very comfortable. The only thing I don't like, but this is just personal preference, is I think these one-up bars, although they feel really nice, I love the shape of them, like the oval bit here, they only seem like they're like a 10mm rise, so the front is quite a bit lower than I would like it. Pedalling efficiency, I have locked the DVO shock out, and they lock out really well. There's no bob at all, and it's really firmed up. So no complaints there. So obviously being used to an e-bike, it feels weird straight away. Not too bad. Feels quite long. Yeah. So obviously it feels weird because it's long. I mean, this is a long bike. But it's very, very smooth. Very plush. Just need to trust that I can point it and it'll go in the direction I want it to go in. I'm over braking too much at the moment. You know, I used to ride test bikes all the time, but I got so used to the Rockies, it feels so weird now jumping on anything else. But yeah, it's super quiet. Wait, trying to get out of the mud there. And let's see how it runs on a regular bike. Never ridden it on a regular bike. Oh, it's dark. Oh, it feels really nimble through here. So obviously it's nimble because it's mullet. It's not a, you know, 29 all through and through. Oh, it turns around these turns so well. Hope you can see that because it's quite dark in here. This is the hard bit. Getting on the off camber yet. The tyres that I thought would have no grip aren't too bad because it's dry. I wouldn't want to try them in the wet down here, that's for sure. Wait. And we turn in over the stumpies and the Rockies, and then we've got this last step down, which I'm not going for. I haven't done it. The bike is nice. So riding up the track, I was thinking about it. I was thinking something didn't feel quite right, and it felt low, but it felt like it was staying low. And then I had a good on squish on the forks and realised, if you look, it's got like Royal Mail return time right now. Super slow. So I reckon a good few clicks on the rebound, pulling it back out again. Let's see what that's like now. That's a bit better. I reckon it's going to be a lot better now.
What were your thoughts on it first time? Just that it felt a bit low?
Well, I thought it was just low because of the low bars, but I think, you know, if you've got very slow rebound, then your forks end up sort of packing up as you're hitting the bumps, and it's not coming back quick enough, so it's getting lower. So I reckon that'll solve it. Hopefully this time get a better run in. I won't be so tempted to hit the brakes. That's better. Yeah, it definitely feels better. And it's also a confidence thing when you haven't ridden a standard bike for a while. The handling here, it is just so very, very manoeuvrable. You can feel it's longer, like I said. It feels so nimble. But then, you know, I will say that because I'm used to an e-bike. But don't worry, I'm not the only one going to be testing it. And the other thing, obviously, with me riding the Rocky e-bike, it is actually a short bike, and this is super long, so it is extreme opposites. Yeah, tyres are hooking up all right, but like I said, I don't think I want to be riding this stuff in the wet with them tyres. Not only is the grip not too hot on them, they are pretty worn out. Lovely, getting used to it now. Right, so I'm going to try and sum up on this bike what I think of it whilst riding down here. Wow, you know, this is like my third run down, and it feels really good. A little bit long for me. I think personally, if I was going to go to a size that suited me, I'd be looking at maybe 470 to 475. I love the short back end, the 435 chain saves, makes it super playful. And obviously you've got that mega grip, high pivot, high idler, so you've got no brake jack. Tog's going well. Oh, I can certainly get used to it, that's for sure. But for me, what is it that lets it down? It's only personal choice really. I'm not too keen on the DVO suspension, I will be honest. I feel like it doesn't have much support on the front. The problem is we're used to Öhlins, and being used to Öhlins, Not a lot does seem that good afterwards. The bar's a little bit low for me. I'd prefer maybe a 30mm rise. But other than that, I mean, the handling is so good, and there's got no way it feels like it's a homemade bike. It feels like a proper job. You've got to hand it to him. He's done a hell of a good job on this bike. Yeah. Yes, Rod. Nice. Todd's getting so well tonight. But I think the real review is going to be from someone a lot faster, a lot younger, fitter, and surprisingly knowledgeable about bikes for his age. And that is our next test rider, who you'll see now.
You've got like 90 to 100 for 54 to 63. I'd try 100.
100's that number with 2 zeros at the
It's
end.
big whole round number.
100.
You get your head around that.
That's 100, isn't it?
Cue our next rider, Leo. So for those of you who are regular viewers of Pinned, you'll know Leo Frater. He is super fast. Just explain to him what you did yesterday.
I got second at national champs on my 3rd ever time on a downhill bike and a new track.
How long have you had the downhill bike?
Since Thursday, and I raced it on Sunday.
I think we don't need to say much more. We'll say one more thing. Enduro, you win all your category every time by a long way, and you went into...
Not every time. We know that one guy.
Only the Atherton rider has beaten you, and the top 100 at Llangollen, the race I didn't like.
Oh yeah.
You got what on the
8th.
final downhill?
8th.
8th overall.
All the World Cup lads are in front of me, I think.
So I think we've said enough about your ability, and we also know that you're quite OCD. You're a proper brake checker, as in always checking where your brakes are in the right place.
I'm on flats for the
I'm
first time.
sure you'll be all right on the flats.
Years.
So what's your initial reaction, being someone who rides a Forbidden, which is a similar sort of suspension platform? What do you think of it?
It's really light.
It is light. I never asked how heavy it was. How heavy is it?
I couldn't tell you.
It's, yeah, I reckon
light.
it's like possibly 30,
I mean, I've only really sat
30
on
pounds, maybe less.
but the sensitivity on the rear feels really good. Like,
Yeah.
it feels really sensitive on the rear.
Does it feel similar to the Druid? More travel?
Nah, it feels longer than the Druid.
Yeah.
It's longer than Druid.
What's
and
the
also
reach on the Druid?
I don't know any. I don't
I'll
know
put it on
anything
screen now.
about the Druid geometry rise, but the front end's lower on this, so it will be a bit different anyways. But
Yeah, it's got low rise bars.
yeah, but still, the linkage still feels like it ramps up like the Druid though.
Yeah,
Like
which is
it's a
good
little
thing.
bit more, isn't it?
It's purposely progressive on
Yeah.
that one.
This is 150 on the rear, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 150 on the rear, and the Druid's 130. Really?
Okay, well, first job, let's see what you think of it. Just to sit on, ride up a hill, and then
Yeah.
we'll get on the interesting bit. First impressions, what about comfort on, you know, body positioning, just as sat on the bike?
But it feels good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel homemade, does it?
Nah, it feels comfortable. It feels like a nice size as well. Like, not too spread out, but...
And
not
what about,
crunched up.
obviously we're going uphill now, what about pedal bob?
Well, obviously there is some because it's a full suspension, but not a huge amount.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I haven't got it fully set up yet, so space settings in it. Going in for a slow first run. I haven't ridden this bit since we've done some work on it. Flats as well on the bamboo beast. Wow, it tracks really well. What the? Oh my god, that's quick. Wow, I really like that. How does it just generate speed? That is actually mad. I'm not a huge fan of the tyres. Oh my god, I love this bike. It's really quiet as well. Shit, into a stump. Flats are a bit weird. Haven't ridden them in a while, keep bouncing off them. Tyres are literally semi-slicks. Whoa, it tracks the ground really well. Right, so we're into our track now, and I've not got my feet on the pedals. Literally, haven't ridden this bit now. Yo, this rides so well. Did the gap then, lad. See how fast that top bit says on this? Right, second run, following the Buchanan, and it's flicking up so much dust. Feels nice on the rough shit, but just a bit weird in the air. Well, I'm not used to it yet, really. But Jim's flying. Oh, forgot I'm not talking, it grips so well. Oh my god! Yeah, just saying, even with these tyres on, it grips really well over the fast shit. Or the loose stumps there catch you up so much. But yeah, grips really well on the flat strip.
Whether these are going to be produced, pretty doubtful.
Really doubtful, yeah.
But check out Earthbound bikes, because there are going to be gravel bikes and maybe some other connotations coming out. Give us any of your comments on what you think about this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in 3. Keep it pinned. Right. Introduce. Start again.
Oh, hey! Oh! Shit! Wait! That's it, gone.
Look what you've done to the tree.
That's it.